Welcome everyone to episode number 17 of the Best News Ever podcast. Before we begin, I would like to announce that before we hit record, Tina's zipper was open. We had a really good laugh about it.
And I don't know why she finds it so funny.
You don't think that's funny?
I remember also one time, I was feeling so beautiful.
Oh.
It was one of those days, guys, yung parang gandang-ganda ako sa sarili ko. Tapos tumitingin yung mga tanging palabok sa zipper ko.
I'm sure they were looking at you because you were beautiful, but then they
No,
also
they were
got
really-
like a little nice surprise.
They were really looking at my
Anyway, thank you.
Tina Ryan, by the way.
Yes, Tina Ryan. Hilarious, Tina Ryan. The gift that keeps on giving, our Tina Ryan. I'm Samo. So we're going to do something a little different today. I know that we have been doing these conversations based on the Shincheonji Bible lessons. But today, I thought maybe we can read a couple of emails coming from Shincheonji members who want to share their journey with us and just touch on some of the things that they say, you know, the struggles that they went through, how they encountered the Bible class.
We all have those.
Yeah.
Bumabaha na po kami ng email sa Best News Ever.
We love it. We love it. Overflowing with the best news ever in our inbox. Let's start with an email that is coming from someone named Serge, our brother Serge. His email begins by saying, Dear Sam and Tina, I am Serge from Bohol, but currently working here in Cebu as a private duty nurse. I'm a new member of Shincheonji, as in he joined like July 16.
What?
It's still July as we're recording this.
Congratulations,
So this
Serge.
month.
Oh my gosh.
How hot off the press is this? I was in a band as a singer years ago. I didn't really consider myself a bad person, but I wasn't really living a holy life either. I went to church on Sundays, prayed to God sometimes. But when you're in a band, you're always exposed to sin. You know, that life, living that life. But I mean, okay, pause. I guess just to clarify, right? Because maybe there are people out there who are in this industry. We're not generalizing.
I was
you
in a
know.
band. And
Were you in a band?
gosh, yeah.
Which band was this?
I had like a few bands.
What?
Back in the 90s.
I did not know this about you, Tina
I
Ryan.
I had a band.
Which
And
band were you part of?
I was part of Kindred Garden. I get where Serge is coming from. Kasama yan sa ano eh. Parang, basta madaming temptation sa pagbabanda.
I mean, because, you know, you guys are performing in the evenings. That comes with that lifestyle of being out and
I've seen
drinking and, you know, the party scene, basically. The going out scene. Okay. But we're not saying that, you know, you're in a band equals you're sinning. Okay, just to be clear. All right. To continue, I guess my faith journey really started with just a random prayer. I was jogging one time after a series of gigs to detox when I asked God if he could use my talent to spread his kingdom. And voila, right then and there, I met my ex-bandmate from college who was serving in the music ministry of a church in Bohol at that time. We talked while jogging and he asked me if I could join his church's music ministry. And of course, I said yes. By the way, talking while jogging?
I was just gonna say,
How are you able to do that?
You got some powerful lungs there, sir.
Wow. All right. I'm so exhausted just thinking about it. You know, if we're jogging together, don't talk to me.
I'd be like, no, let's talk later.
Okay. I got hooked with this church because of the music and the talks about moral teachings during their worship service. I even served and sang in their big events for 3 consecutive years in Cebu before the pandemic. But right before the pandemic hit, I was offered a job here in Cebu as a private duty nurse. It was like God was propositioning me for what was going to happen. I don't remember if I asked for it in a prayer, but I really needed that job. And if I hadn't gotten it, I cannot imagine how I could have survived the pandemic financially. And I was lucky to be brought to that family where I really got exposed to the Bible because the wife of our patient was really religious and was very generous. It was where I got exposed to evangelical Christians and reading the Bible and praying. So she let us read 1 chapter of the Bible every night, starting from Genesis, but we never finished the whole Bible because she died a few months after.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. By the way, there are quite a few deaths mentioned in this email, just to give you guys a heads up.
Kasi pandemic.
Pandemic, and he's a nurse, so alam mo na, it's part of his job. I still continued to read the Bible and got more into the evangelical Christianity. I would attend online worship services from different churches every Sunday. After more than a year in that house, my father started reaching out to us and I needed to go home to Bohol. We were a broken family and he left us when we were little. I think him reaching out was his way of saying that he was about to pass away because he died after a month.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
I was able to see him before he died, but wasn't able to attend his funeral because I went back to Cebu to work for a different patient. My faith in God was strengthened further when I was assigned to a COVID patient at a hospital this time. We were in that hospital for almost 3 months because my patient's COVID was severe. In the early stage of his COVID, we were isolated in a COVID room for 18 days.
Wow.
During those days, my patient and one of his sons, who was also there with us, prayed the rosary every night and did morning devotions. My relationship with my patient and his family grew deeper during those days because I was the one giving updates to the family on the situation of my patient, who was their father. But I especially got closer emotionally and spiritually with my patient. We could talk for hours, even until dawn. He was like the father I never had growing up. When we were transferred to the non-COVID room after 18 days was when things got really difficult for my patient. The COVID symptoms got worse, but we still continued our nightly rosary and early morning devotion with me leading it while he only listened because it was really getting difficult for him to talk because of the breathing device that was attached to him. I remembered one of your episodes on the Narrow Door podcast where the topic was, why is there suffering in the world? But I never questioned God about that. I knew already from reading the Bible and doing devotionals that nobody is exempted from suffering because even Jesus Christ suffered to atone us from our sins. But I did have a question at that time from witnessing my patient's suffering, which was, when will his suffering and pain end? When will suffering in the world end? This was answered when I started studying with Shinchanji. And I also learned that suffering was never even from God, but from the enemy, who is Satan. I also learned that suffering is present because Satan is ruling the world. When my COVID patient died after almost 3 months, I was assigned to another patient and I've been taking care of her for more than a year now. My work is 24/7 and I only get to take days off when I request for it from the agency once a month. In other words, I'm only staying in one place most of the days of the month, and even if the pandemic has mellowed, I am still in pandemic mode since I don't go out of the house often. And that was when I started looking for something else to do. I tried aquaponics, exercising, learning the guitar. Pause. I know this is not a pandemic hobby thing that he's doing. I mean, because he's just stuck in the hospital and trying to find something to do. But did you pick up anything over the pandemic? Oh my gosh, no, we talked about this. Well, the biggest thing was that,
I picked up eating during the
No, I was going to say the biggest thing that we picked up during the pandemic was the Bible study.
Yeah, Bible study.
And you're also a plantita. Was that a pandemic thing for you or were you always a plantita?
No. Pandemic.
Oh, okay.
And the kalimba, which I took for maybe 2 weeks.
Do you actually have?
I bought one.
You do? Is that the instrument in your band that you play?
Grabe ka, hoy, singer ako dun sa band, ha?
Of course she's the singer. Tina sings beautifully. Okay. Wow.
Kalimba. I should bring it out maybe tonight. Play for you. I'm gonna call you on Zoom.
May bagyo na tayo, Tina. Okay. Basically, things that can be done justified boredom while here at work. I was still able to attend worship service online through YouTube, but I guess it wasn't enough, and there was still a hunger inside of me that could only be filled by God and by studying His Word. That was the time I started searching for a Bible class, and I stumbled upon a post on Facebook. I clicked it and registered immediately, and someone from Korea messaged me and guided me through the classes here in the Philippines. I enjoyed it at first, but when I leveled up to the higher level lessons, doubts started to kick in about whether Shinchanji was really legit, especially when we reached the lessons where our instructor revealed the physical entities of the parables. And from being exposed to the other worship services I attended before, I was looking for the moral teachings and quote-unquote milk for infant believers, which there wasn't much of in the class since we are already given the quote-unquote solid food. I even searched the internet and saw a couple of negative comments and videos about Shinchanji. But even with these doubts, I continued attending the classes, and one lesson struck me when our instructor,
Hi, Harry!
Shout out, spoke about the Bereans and encouraged us to be like them and searching for the truth. So, nung Narrow Door podcast days pa to, like, Instructor Harold was all about this verse. He's talking about Acts chapter 17, verse 11, where it says that the Bereans were of noble character because they received the message with eagerness and then they checked the scriptures every day to verify.
Okay, you
As we
guys
like to
were
say.
telling me, uy,
Diba?
Berean ka.
Oh,
Berean
diba,
ka."
diba? And I even remember we had shirts made at that time with our life verses on it. And this was Instructor Harold's.
How come I didn't get a shirt on?
Because you weren't part of the podcast yet.
Whatever.
Yeah, you weren't cool yet, Tina. To continue with the email, but Satan doesn't give up easily either. At one point while studying, I just felt depressed and felt really tired to even do anything, and my studies were affected. I missed a couple of classes on the advanced level, which made me want to quit. But thankfully, our evangelist called me and asked how I was doing, and I told him my situation, and it was a relief for me that someone reached out and was willing to listen. I continued with the classes and took the exam and was able to pass over by God's grace. I'm not yet perfect and still have a long way to go. I still even review the past lessons just to be sealed. Your podcasts, The Narrow Door, and The Best News Ever. Yes, I guess I'm also a Dorito. And he thought that Road to Revelation was great, that series that we did on the Narrow Door podcast. All of these things have really helped me in finding the truth and understanding the lessons further, thanks to the instructors Harry, Abby, and Instructor Aaron, and to both of you and many of your guests on the podcast. Today, I am still in awe of God's goodness in allowing me to know the prophecies and their fulfillment, and now allowing me to be a part of the work for its completion. To the students of ZCMC, just keep on fighting and overcoming. There will be struggles along the way because the enemy is still working, but remember Romans chapter 8, verse 31. If God is for us, who can be against us? Again, thank you very much, Tina and Sam. You may not know it, but you have been a big part of my Shincheonji journey.
Aww.
God bless and keep fighting. Sincerely, your brother in faith and a certified Good Samaritan from Bohol, Serge. P.S. I have been trying to work on one of the basic duties, which is evangelism. Can you please talk about this and share some tips on how to evangelize without sounding too preachy or self-righteous? Thank you again. Thank you, Serge. This is an amazing email.
Serge, you just completed my week.
Wow.
What egay? What typhoon egay? Nox. Oh my gosh, evangelism. Wala pa ako masyadong
Oh, you can think about that a little bit. We can
Oo.
touch on other things that are in his email, and he has a lot.
Oh yeah, yung death lang, no?
I'm so
Okay,
sorry. I'm so
oo.
sorry for all of the loss that you experienced over the pandemic. I mean, even us, diba, we heard
Yeah.
news of people we knew who got COVID and very sadly, passed away. And that was really hard. And so,
Depressing.
yeah.
And you know what? And I feel like parang talaga yung Bible study was great timing. Because I was kind of, medyo nagkaroon ako ng dark moment during the pandemic.
Oh my gosh, I think the pandemic was not easy on anyone.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think if you were one of those people who lost,
Oh,
again,
yeah.
a lot of loved ones during that time, it must have been a much darker time. And Serge, being a nurse, he was basically surrounded by that
kasi
stuff.
part ng trabaho niya,
Oo,
diba?
diba? But speaking of death, I think also, as you were, I think, trying to say, when we started learning about the Bible and what it says about death and all that, for me anyway, parang it really changed the way I looked at death. Because we even learn about how death is even a thing, when really God didn't design us to die.
And honestly, I used to, just the word death scares me. I didn't even like, when I think about me dying, I'm like already getting depressed, and I'm like, I start to think, ano ba, am I gonna die a slow and painful death? But I think of it different now. It doesn't scare me as much anymore. Even aging doesn't scare me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to the Bible study.
Yeah. I think we learned that, number one, I think as human beings, we have lived for thousands of years thinking that death was, of course, the obvious and natural thing. That is what people do. At some point, we all die. But through learning about the Bible, we came to the understanding that no, number one, God did not create us to die.
Mhm.
God is a God of life. Death, the scriptures tell us, is the result of sin. And so, and this is something that you probably should sit with, because I had to sit with it as well. But if the plan of God is that in the end, he is going to take care of the problem of sin, because, Satan will be caught, will be captured, put away, and all that stuff.
Locked in the abyss.
Yeah. And we are also being given the revealed word that can cleanse us of this sin, and we are going to be reconnected back to God. Will death still be a thing?
No more na.
Just going to leave that hanging. Yeah. You can leave that hanging. But these are the things that you find out when you go deep into the Bible and start learning about it. So I think definitely for all of us in Shinshinji, there's been a complete paradigm shift with death.
Totally. And
Yeah.
just going back to Serge's email, we're just so happy that despite of the struggles that you had, that you continued on with the classes. Oo.
And that's really, even as Serge pointed out, a huge credit for that goes to the evangelists, the instructors, all of the people in the class who are there to help and guide and support the students, because you can really feel how they're really pouring out all their efforts so that the students can hang on and just kind of see this whole thing to the end. Another thing that struck me, I think, with Serge's email, a lot of the people who write to us say that, I was doing all the things that you're supposed to do in the faith life, but there was still something that wasn't quite quenched. Like there was still like that hunger and
the missing
thirst.
piece.
May something pa rin na kulang. And it's funny because in the Bible, the word is sometimes figuratively expressed as water, right? Or like food. And what I realized also was, until I started hearing the word and studying the Bible, I didn't even realize I was hungry or thirsty. Parang I was like, okay na. Happy na ako dito. I'm fine. And I think, some people like Serge will like keep seeking for something because they feel like something's kulang. But then there's also people like me na parang until I started hearing the word, I didn't even know I was hungry.
So you're saying na as you were studying, in the process of studying, hindi mo inaakala na you're gonna be taking it all in.
Yeah, like I didn't realize that I was missing something in my faith life this much. Maybe because I also just did not have a basis of comparison or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, compare mo naman yung faith life mo dun sa journey ko before na talagang banjing. Diba?
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But also maybe that's also with how your journey played out was also maybe a symptom of being hungry and thirsty because you just were not satisfied.
Yeah, I was like Serge.
Yeah.
It was just not, it wasn't I wasn't filled. Diba? Parang kulang ng dessert. Parang dessert talaga. Parang extra rice pa, please.
He left us with a question in the end of his email asking for tips on evangelizing. Not that we're experts at this.
I'm super not up. Like the other day na nagpa-renew ako ng passport.
What happened?
Hindi kasi may lola na nag-ask. And then we started talking.
What did she ask you?
Ano ba tinanong nila? No, kasi parang nagmamadali sila dun sa lalagyan ng box. So many, kasi may appointment ka na ngayon, di ba? Pupunta ka. So people started putting their forms on top of each other na parang, sabi ko, uy, teka lang, baka yung mga nauna matabunan. Gets mo? So binaliktad ko. Para by pa rin order.
Right.
And then, so she started talking about that. And then I, like, parang briefly lang wanted to ask her, Nay, Katoliko ka? Kasi she mentioned something about, living in Europe, tas naghahanap siya ng parang church. Something like that. I think from there, pwede ka mag-start.
Oh, just striking up conversations
Oo,
with...
like anong religion mo na? Saan ka? Mga ganun.
Uh-uh.
I think I've done a few of those. Parang I sort of inserted yung mga Bible classes na I went through, mga ganun.
And then like, do you pass her a link or something like that?
Oo.
And tell her to register if you'd like?
Or like,
mga
you know,
ganun.
papasok ko yung dati, narrow door. Oo. I do a podcast. Mga ganun. Tapos bibenta kita.
And this is something that you get more comfortable the more you do it. Kasi diba, at first, parang nahihiya ka pa eh.
Oo, di
Diba?
ba nga,
Like-
dati tayo, let's talk about Jesus. Ha? Bye! Ganun.
Yeah, like you're wondering like, oh my goodness, how do I segue into that? And you know,
Uh-uh.
but I think the more you do it, the easier it gets. And it really could be anybody. And you start looking out for opportunities to be able to do that in just like the most random parts of your day.
And I'm queen of random, I swear. Na masisingit ko at masisingit yan.
Yeah,
Yung mga Bible classes.
I think when I read this part of Serge's email, I thought about this quote that I really, really liked. And I think most times people attribute it to St. Francis of Assisi, but apparently it's a misquote. I'm not sure.
What is it?
I don't know, but I'm just going to put that out there. I don't know if it's really him. But the quote goes, preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. So it's like people can see when something changes you and you start making changes in your own life. And when people see that, they get curious and they want that kind of positive change for themselves as well. So I always found it to be more effective when instead of like telling people to do this and that, you just kind of like showed them through your life.
Your actions.
Yeah. I would think that the first step would be to get yourself right with God first. You know, get your life straight and right first because people see that stuff. I think though, now that I am with this church, Shinchanji, and we are now testifying about, you know, the fulfillment of the prophecies and whatnot, I think there is parang an urge now to really speak about it too, right? So it can be things like, passing along a link to the seminar that's going to happen or inviting people to the Bible class. Because in this time and age, in the plan of God, we are supposed to talk about it. Gosh, but you know, Serge, again, he is like literally a brand spanking new member of the church. So I think just the fact that you're even trying to do this and writing us about your journey and wondering how you can do a better job of evangelizing, not worried about you. Not that we're in a position to worry about anyone but ourselves, being fairly new members ourselves. But I think this is amazing, Serge, and congratulations and welcome to Shinchanji. Let's move on to our second email. Are you ready? Do you want to read this one?
Hey, best newscasters ever. My name is Ange, and I'm actually from the US, and I came to Shinchanji because of a random Facebook message.
Hello, the US.
I, like Doe, just watched episode 13. By the grace of God, was blown away by the teachings of each class.
Kasi Doe was someone who wrote to us and we read that on episode 13 is what she means. Okay.
The best part of my day was to study and I came hungry each day to learn more and more. Ito na naman tayo sa hungry. I graduated with 106,000 class. And when I say I was so joyful and excited, it's an understatement.
Okay, so she means that she was part of that graduating class where we had that 100,000, 6,000 graduates.
I recently invited my mom and a few friends to the classes. My heart was broken as my mom went through revelation because her health got the better of her. She wasn't able to grasp everything, having to miss class from time to time due to surgeries and just being in pain. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. She eventually broke trust in the teachings. Only recently, getting serious about God, she began to fall away. I was really hoping to share this journey in faith with my mom fully. Because of the events that took place, we got a lot closer, but also grew further apart at the same time. I love her so much, so I continue to pray, but I also feel that I now have a small insight into how God feels when we walk away from Him and don't take our relationship with Him seriously. All glory to God because she still listens to the smaller lessons. I sent her a link to your podcast as another venue to help her heart heal. Thank you for what you do, as your podcast has also helped build my faith too. I don't live near any of the churches, so I can only attend online. I love my SCJ family, but can't help but feel alone sometimes because I'm so scattered brain. To anyone listening who's going through hardship, remember the word. Take yourself back to the beginning and keep going. We can do it. Grace and peace be with you. Thank you again. Many prayers and blessings to you. Ange.
Ange from the US. Thank you for writing to us.
Scattered brain, that is my
That's
middle
you.
name. So
That's
Ange,
the first thing that you're scatterbrained.
I'm with you, Ange. She's my new bestie.
Man, I would love to share this faith life with my mom. I totally understand where Ange is coming from. By the way, I'm so sorry to hear about the declining health of your mother and what she had to deal with through her time studying. But yeah, I really like dream about that day when not only my mom, but yeah, just the whole family will come to this understanding and live this faith life with me. And I think that is one of the promises that I'm holding on to as well as I keep this faith life, that if I do that until the end, then the people that I love will be brought to this understanding as well.
Which you've told me many times.
Yeah. That is really one of the biggest things that I'm holding on to.
So I feel for Ange also because wala daw malapit to church in her area.
Right.
There's an era of Zoom, so at least in a way she still can join us.
Yeah. Actually, this is something that the hosts of Straight from the Horse's Mouth podcast were talking about.
Hi, guys.
Yeah. Because you're right. During the pandemic, there were people who came to the Bible study and learned about Shinshanji and the teachings purely online. They did not have that experience of going to church and meeting the people in the church, which is what we did as well. It was only like after the pandemic eased that we started having those experiences as well. I think for the people who were already practicing in the churches and doing all of that stuff face to face, then went through the pandemic, also just had a different experience. Kind of now again having to transition back to how things used to be. Mga ganon. So like if you want like insider conversations like that about the church, that is the podcast. Straight from the horse's mouth. How do you feel? I mean, because Ange is just not anywhere near a church. And so I'm assuming from this email, she still does everything online because we got to transition to going to a physical church and meeting our fellow church members.
That was quite exciting to me.
Yeah.
To meet the brothers and the sisters and SEJ.
Yeah.
It was pretty, I enjoyed it a lot.
Not to rub it in, Ange, but I think what we do here on the podcast as well, because I mean, if you think about it, the only way that the number of churches will increase is if this message gets spread more and more and people start hearing about it and they understand the fulfillment of the New Testament Bible, and then gathering, that is when the churches will also rise in those areas, right? So here's to hoping that what we do here, as little as this podcast may be,
will reach out a million of
will contribute a little bit to a church coming to you soon, Ange.
Oh, a church coming to you soon.
Yeah, I hope you hang in there. I'm sure it's not easy to, have this experience to this day, just be purely online. But I have no doubt that the day is coming when you will meet people physically and go to a church.
And if you do fly back here, oh my gosh, we'd love to see you here at the Manila Church.
Yeah. Thank you so much, though, for giving us encouraging words at the end of your email, despite all of the challenges that you yourself are going through. Ange, we will be praying for you as well. And yeah, that is the episode today. We got to sit down and go through your stories and share some of our experiences on this journey as well. This was fun.
I like this.
Yeah.
We should do this like once a month.
Once a month. So then the emails will have to keep coming.
Because we're already getting flooded, Cha.
Please do. We love hearing from you. And I think we are hearing back from our brothers and sisters as well, because as they hear these stories and how all these people are encountering the word in different ways and all the challenges that they're overcoming, it gives them so much strength as well.
May ripple effect na yan.
Yeah. So let's keep that going. bestnewseverpodcast@gmail.com is the email address. And
so with that, we want to say stay dry because there's another typhoon coming.
If you're in the Philippines, that is.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, wherever you may be in the world, please take care. I'm sure you hear it said quite often that this is a time when you should be taking care of yourself physically as well. Very much. So please do that and hang in there, and we'll see you on the next episode of this podcast. Bye.